James Carafano joins me now. Colonel, Iran says, look, they're not going to give up their enrichment. And I guess President Trump's coming out and saying, look, you get started all over again, and we're going to come and take them out again. So are the Iranians just saying this as a kind of bravado to keep their saving face, basically?
Yeah, so this is the Middle East, where if you're not having dinner, you're on the menu. So the Iranians are straddling a line here between trying to look tough and strong, but also kind of sending signals that they're keeping their head down. I think right now their #1 priority is on regime preservation. Yeah, so right. Dig in, settle down and stuff. And the U.S. and the Israelis have been sending messages like, if you start to rebuild this stuff and cross lines, we will whack you again. And I don't think the Iranians want that right now.
So at the moment, it's stalemate with the Iranians concentrating on regime survival. What's the threat to their regime at this moment?
Well, it's internal, which is why you hear, many more Iranians have been killed in the last few weeks by the Iranian regime than by any, bombs or attacks from anybody outside. So they are consolidating, pressing on the internal opposition, making sure the finances are flowing to the right people, making sure everybody understands that the chain of command is still in place and that there's still an active chain of command. And so I think the kind of things you normally would expect from a regime to send the signals internally that, dude, this is not the time to rise up against the Ayatollah.
But is there anybody telling the Iranians that you could be prosperous again? You could sell your oil on the world market, just make peace with America, and you could be prosperous. Is anybody telling them that?
Well, of course. I mean, everybody's told them that, including President Trump famously in a speech. But the regime doesn't care, right? It doesn't care about the prosperity of the Iranian people. That's not the purpose of the revolution. The purpose of the revolution is to perpetuate the revolution and power and expansion of power. It's not about making the people in Iran, have a nice day. The people in Iran would love to have a nice day. They look longingly to the West. They don't miss the Shah. They didn't like that either, but they loved life under the Shah and the freedom they enjoyed. Now in Iran, you live free inside your house, and outside your house is a prison. In the old days, you could be the person you wanted to be across the country. They want that again, but the regime's never going to allow that. So we have a stalemate internally, and until the day the people sense that the regime is weak enough to overthrow it, we're just going to keep, replaying this show in the theater. And this is it. You have to write, just like the Russians, you have to write a plan to keep peace and stability in the Middle East, regardless of what the Iranians do, because you can never count on them to ever do the right thing.
Russia says they're not going to rule out a Putin-Trump meeting in Beijing in September. What are the chances? There's also talk of a Trump-Xi Jinping meeting around the same time. What are the chances of 3 high-level meetings, Trump, Putin, Xi, it's all separate, but our president meeting those 2 rivals face to face? Are the chances of that good this fall?
Well, yeah, I don't know. So it's interesting that the president said 50 days, because that gets you right around the time the president was thinking about going to Beijing. And of course, it's one place that Vladimir Putin can go and not get arrested. But I think the politics of that would be incredibly complicated. And the other thing is, unless Putin really brought something solid to the table, the president would not be up for this meeting, other than to just to dress him down and humiliate him. So I'm not seeing that right now. I think, the option that we're not talking about, which I think we always have to consider, is Putin doesn't have to make a deal. He could just quietly wind things down and have in Ukraine the same thing that he currently has in Georgia and Moldova, and live with that for a while and kind of reset for another day. So that might be an option.
Okay, we'll see. James Carafano, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend.
Sure.